The morning felt ordinary, which was why Sarah Whitman did not expect anything to change. The sun moved slowly through the clouds above her quiet New England street. And the town sounded the way it always did: distant cars. A dog barking once, leaves shifting in the breeze. Sarah moved through her kitchen with calm habits built over years. Coffee, toast, a glance at the clock. Life had taught her to keep things steady. At 42, Sarah had learned how to live without asking too much from the day. She worked hard, paid her bills, and smiled when neighbors waved. People said she was kind, reliable, strong. What they did not see was how often she paused in silence, feeling something unnamed settle in her chest. It was not sadness exactly. It was longing, quiet and patient. The doorbell rang, sharp and sudden. Sarah froze for a moment. She was not expecting anyone. Her friends usually texted. Her sister lived 3 states away. She wiped her hands on a towel and walked to the door, her heart beating a little faster for no clear reason when she opened it. Michael Harris stood on her porch. He held a bouquet of white lilies wrapped in simple paper. His jacket was neat, his hair slightly messy in a way that looked natural. He smiled, not wide or dramatic, just enough to show warmth. "For you," he said. Sarah stared at the flowers longer than she meant to. Flowers were not something she received often. Not since her marriage ended years ago. Not since she learned how to stop expecting gestures. "You didn't have to," she said. "I wanted to," Michael replied. Michael had entered her life quietly. A friend of a friend. A few dinners. Long talks that did not rush. He never pushed, never demanded. He listened more than he spoke. That alone had made her feel safe. She stepped aside and let him in. They sat at her small kitchen table, the flowers placed carefully in a glass jar. The room smelled faintly of coffee and fresh petals. They talked about simple things. His job, a book she was reading, a movie they both liked. The conversation flowed easily. But something deeper moved under every word. Michael looked at her differently than others did. Not as someone to impress or fix, but as someone to understand. That made the silence between sentences feel full instead of awkward. "I should go," he said after a while. Sarah nodded, though part of her wished he would stay longer at the door. He hesitated. "I'm glad I met you," Michael said. His voice was calm, but the meaning stayed behind after he left. Sarah stood on the porch, watching him walk away, the flowers warm in her arms. Her heart felt lighter and heavier at the same time. Hope could be dangerous. She knew that, but she let it in anyway. She turned to go back inside. "Mrs. Whitman." The voice stopped her. She turned and saw Ethan Miller standing near the fence. He was her neighbor's son, home after years away. She remembered him as a boy on a bike, always polite, always quiet. Now he was taller, serious, with eyes that held something unsettled. "Yes, Ethan?" she asked. He glanced down the street where Michael had disappeared. Then back at the flowers. "I didn't mean to listen," he said. "But I saw him." Sarah frowned slightly. "Saw who?" "The man who just left." There was a tightness in Ethan's voice that made her chest tighten too. "He seemed nice," Sarah said carefully. Ethan swallowed. "That's why I need to say something." The air felt different. Heavier. Like the moment before a storm. "What is it?" she asked. Ethan took a slow breath. "He's not telling you everything." Sarah felt a cold wave move through her body. "I don't understand." "I know him," Ethan said. "Not well, but enough." Sarah held the flowers tighter, the paper crinkling softly. "What are you saying, Ethan?" He looked torn, like someone choosing between silence and honesty. "I'm saying you should be careful," he said. "Because he has a past he doesn't talk about." The words landed hard. Everyone had a past. Sarah knew that. She had one too. But something in Ethan's tone made this feel different. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked. "Because I don't want you to get hurt," he replied. Sarah searched his face. She saw no judgment there. "Only concern he brought me flowers," she said quietly. Ethan nodded. "That's what worries me." The street was silent now. Even the birds seemed to pause. Ethan, Sarah said, her voice steady though her heart was not. If you know something, you need to say it. He hesitated again. I shouldn't, he said. It's not really my place. But you started, she replied gently. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. The last woman he was close to. Ethan said slowly, thought he was serious. He made her feel safe. Then he disappeared when things mattered most. Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her. Are you sure? She asked. Yes. The flowers felt heavy now, like a weight instead of a gift. Thank you for telling me. Sarah said after a moment. Ethan nodded. Relief and worry mixed together. I just wanted you to know. He walked back toward his parents' house, leaving Sarah alone on the porch. She went inside and set the flowers on the counter. The kitchen looked the same, but it did not feel the same. Every sound felt louder. Every thought felt sharper. She replayed Michael's smile. His calm voice. His careful words. Was it all real? Or was it just another moment that looked like hope but ended in silence? Sarah sat at the table and stared at the flowers. They were beautiful, honest in their simplicity. But now they felt like a question she didn't know how to answer. Outside, the day continued like nothing had happened. Inside, everything had changed. And Sarah knew one thing for sure. She would not be able to ignore what she had just been told. Sarah Whitman couldn't sleep that night. The moment Ethan had spoken, his words echoed in her mind like an alarm she couldn't turn off. The flowers Michael had brought now sat on the kitchen counter, their white petals seeming almost too bright in the dim lamplight. She remembered the way he had smiled, the calm way he had spoken, and the warmth that had settled in her chest when he said, I'm glad I met you. And yet, Ethan's warning was a shadow creeping over that warmth, cold and insistent. She wondered if she had been naive, letting herself trust to Isley after years of careful distance. She kept replaying every detail of the afternoon, every word Michael had said, searching for a hint, a sign, anything she might have missed the next morning. Sarah woke early, not fully rested, her mind still tangled in questions. She made coffee, poured herself a cup, and walked outside, seeking clarity in the quiet morning air. The sun had just begun to rise, casting a soft orange light across her small New England street. Leaves rustled in the breeze, and for a moment she wished for the comfort of ordinary life, simple and predictable. Instead, her heart felt restless, impatient. She had to know. She couldn't leave Ethan's words to linger like a shadow. She needed answers, and she needed them from Michael himself. She didn't wait long. By mid-morning, she found herself at the small cafe they had visited before, hoping to see Michael there. The smell of fresh coffee and baked goods greeted her as she entered. She scanned the room and saw him sitting at a corner table, alone, reading a book. The calm that had drawn her to him before was still there. He looked up as she approached, his expression softening into a welcoming smile. Sarah, he said, standing. I didn't expect to see you so early. Couldn't sleep, she replied, sliding into the chair opposite him. I need to ask you something honestly. No stories, no half-truths. Michael nodded slowly, placing his hands on the table. You have my honesty. She took a deep breath. Ethan said, you have a past. That you left someone before. When things were serious, I need to know if it's true. Michael looked down at his hands for a moment, as if gathering courage to speak. It's true, he admitted quietly. I was engaged once. We were happy, at least for a while. But when things became real, I panicked. I didn't know how to handle it. I walked away. I regretted it every day after. Sarah felt the words settle over her like a heavy but necessary rain. She didn't feel anger. Not exactly. She felt the weight of truth, raw and undeniable. The man she had begun to trust had a past, a flawed past, but he wasn't lying now. He was telling her the truth, and in a strange way, that mattered more than the mistake itself. You scared me, Sarah said quietly. Not because of what you did, but because I've learned to be careful with my heart. I've learned that people can hurt you even when they don't mean to. I needed to know you weren't going to disappear like that again. Michael reached across the table, his hand brushing hers lightly. I'm not going anywhere, Sarah. Not now. Not after meeting you. I brought the flowers yesterday because I wanted to show you I'm ready. Ready to try, honestly, without running. Her chest tightened. The sincerity in his eyes was undeniable. The flowers he had brought were more than a gesture. They were a symbol of a choice he was making. It's a choice to confront fear and try again. Sarah realized that love wasn't about perfection. It was about risk, about courage, about willingness to face the past and still move forward. She looked down at her coffee, gathering her thoughts. I don't need perfect, she said finally. I just need honesty. I just need someone willing to try, even if it's hard. Michael smiled softly, relief visible in his expression. That's all I can promise, but it's everything I can give. They sat there for a while longer, talking about small things again, work, neighbors, favorite movies, but the conversation was different now. It carried a weight of honesty, a subtle acknowledgement of vulnerability. Each word built a bridge over past fears, connecting them in ways that felt tentative but real. Sarah felt herself relaxing, her heart responding to the steadiness he offered. Later, as she walked home, she noticed the quiet of the street. The trees swayed gently, the leaves glittered in the late afternoon sun, and the town seemed peaceful, ordinary, familiar. But Sarah herself was not the same. Something inside her had shifted. The warning from Ethan had been important. It had made her cautious, but it had also prepared her to see Michael for who he truly was. Beyond appearances, beyond gestures. She understood now that warnings did not always signal endings. They could signal beginnings. If approached with care and awareness, when she reached her door, she paused and looked back down the street, thinking about Michael and the flowers and about Ethan's concern. Her heart felt full of questions, but also a fragile sense of hope. She had learned that love was not about guarantees. It was about choices, about moments where people dared to be honest, and about the courage to believe, even after being warned. That evening, Sarah stood by her window, looking out as the sky darkened. The town was quiet, lights twinkling from nearby houses. She thought of Michael's words, his admission of fear, and his promise to try again. She thought of Ethan's warning, spoken with concern and care. She realized that truth, honesty, and willingness to face the past were more important than the absence of mistakes. As darkness fell, Sarah felt a gentle calm settle over her. Her heart, cautious and aware, was willing to feel hope again. She understood that the journey ahead would not be perfect, but it would be real. And sometimes the real moments were the ones that mattered most. Sarah turned from the window, small, determined smile forming on her face. She knew that love, true love, required both courage and patience. It required noticing the subtleties, understanding the imperfections, and embracing honesty. And in that realization, she felt a quiet excitement for what might come next. Choices made with care, feelings nurtured slowly, and the possibility of a story that was hers to write, genuinely and fully.